After selling out on Bandai Premium's Japanese website in under 30 minutes, the minus color version of the MonsterArts -1 Godzilla is now up on websites like Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth for North American customers. Now, some folks were really quick to point out that on Big Bad Toy Store, you are now required to put down a 10% down payment on any figure that's $120 or more. And this deposit is non-refundable, meaning that, if people start to get this figure in hand or you find it somewhere else that has it in stock before Big Bad Toy Store, you can cancel your order, but you're not getting that 10% of your purchase back. Now, if we take a look at the Big Bad Toy Store website, you'll notice that this policy doesn't apply to all items over $120. So this Series 4 blind box case from Super 7, $180 down payment is not required. But something like the new Space Godzilla from MonsterArts, $160, there is a deposit that's required. Mogera is the same, $160, you need a 10% down payment, $16. The minus color version, $145 US, $14.50 down payment, 10%. Now, here's where it gets a little bit interesting, is this Mezco figure, the 1954 Kaiju Collective, this has been on pre-order for a long time, like well over a year at this point. But even now, it's being subjected to this policy. 10% is required moving forward. So I'm not sure, and I can't pin down exactly what it is about some of these items where the 10% does not apply. But this is going to be really important to know going forward, that you're just not going to be able to do zero down pre-orders anymore. And zero down meaning that you don't pay anything. Now, I mentioned in a video a while back that up here in Canada, there are no options basically for zero down pre-orders. Any Canadian e-tailer you go to, there's some really great ones, Toy Snowman, DJC Collectibles, they all require payment up front. There is no zero down option. My local comic shop, where I've built rapport with the owner who works there, I've ordered several items through him. At best, what he can do for me is a 50% down payment, and then he'll order the item and I pay the rest when it arrives in stock. So yeah, like this system this is new to a Canadian like me. We just don't have this luxury. Now, I think it's really important to discuss why we're starting to see this. Why are we starting to see businesses like Big Bad Toy Store? And as I predicted in that video way back, I do think that Entertainment Earth will also move toward this model of getting rid of the zero down pre-orders. I feel as though, and not to blame them, but I do feel as though customers have been pushed towards using zero down pre-orders as more of a shopping cart, where you place the pre-order now and you decide whether or not you actually want to go through with the order later. And I think that there's a few different good reasons for this, and we'll talk about that in just a second. I've been lucky enough to be an Entertainment Earth affiliate for a few months now, and I've seen thousands of dollars worth of purchases made through my link. And I can tell you that about 40% of those items get canceled before they arrive in stock and before they get shipped. Now, that's a lot of money. I'm talking thousands of dollars worth of pre-orders. 40%, we are in the hundreds, if not thousands of dollars worth of inventory that you thought you were going to sell, and now at the drop of a pin, you're no longer selling. For larger businesses like Amazon, you can tank hits like that. It's no big deal to somebody like Bezos when you have billions of dollars. But if you think about like a smaller business, or even like an independent person selling their wares, that disruption in your cash flow can be absolutely devastating, right? Like, you think that you have $500 coming in, and then boom, like it's just not there anymore because the customer decided to change their mind. Now, as I briefly mentioned before, I don't think that it's necessarily the customer's fault that we are seeing this sort of behavior in the market. I think that modern collecting and the companies that are making things have pushed customers towards this behavior in more ways than one. I think that one of the big factors that plays a role is not knowing whether or not the products are going to be of an acceptable quality. I recently purchased the Marvel Legends from Spider-Man No Way Home, so I got my Tobey Maguire, my Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and the quality of plastic is just, it makes me nervous. I don't feel like I can fiddle with these figures like I could with Marvel Legends that I collected 4 or 5 years ago. And so, I actually I do have buyer's remorse on this set. I'll probably try to offload them. But if these figures start getting in hand, especially into reviewers' hands, and they start telling folks like, hey, these figures, I have some serious concerns, then people can start to make their decisions, and they can start canceling pre-orders. And so, because all of these businesses like Hasbro, Mattel, they're all moving towards this pre-order model where you don't see the figures in hand for at least 4 months, usually quite a bit longer. And so it can be a big leap of faith to pay up front to say, yeah, I think that this figure is going to be worth having, when we have no real indication of what the quality is going to be like. I think that another thing that contributes toward people treating pre-orders, zero down pre-orders specifically, as more of a shopping cart is not knowing whether or not there's actually going to be enough inventory by the time a product arrives in stock. There are businesses like Mondo that I've talked extensively about before, where the items could sell out in minutes. You actually some of them don't, some of them linger, but you don't know how long some of these items are going to last. In the pre-order model, you also don't know how many other people are pre-ordering it. And so if you don't have to put anything down, then it's basically no risk. It's no risk, full reward, right? Like you claim your pre-order, claim your unit, decide after the fact if it's actually worth keeping, if you actually want it or not. I think that we were seeing this for a little bit with some of Super 7's offerings, like the -1 Godzilla, Space Godzilla, Mogera. Entertainment Earth and Big Bad Toy Store, they were flickering in and out of stock because you could actually see people canceling their pre-orders in real time, and then other people were claiming those orders as they became available. So when I say that zero down pre-orders are quickly becoming a model that is not sustainable for businesses, I'm not putting that on the onus of the customer. I'm not saying customers need to pay up front. I'm definitely not saying that. I think that, like I said, the market is pushing them to do that in a lot of ways, not just the two that I mentioned here. I myself, I'm generally in favor of paying up front for an item, whether it's pre-ordering or buying it when it comes into stock, because it gives me a good indicator of whether or not I actually like the thing enough to order it, to follow through on my purchase. If I do my zero down pre-order and I hem and I haw over it, then I might come back later and be like, no, never mind. Or I've seen cases with some of my closer friends, and that's happened to me too, where I make a zero down pre-order, think about it after the fact, and then it ships before I ever revisit the purchase and determine if I actually want the thing or not. So that's another advantage that I've had with upfront payments. An interesting thing to note is that I'm also an affiliate of Super 7, as I've mentioned a couple of times. And with Super 7, I've also seen thousands of dollars worth of purchases come through my affiliate link. And the cancellation rate for those purchases is 0. So it's really interesting that when the payment's up front, people don't really seem to be regretting their purchases, or at least they're not regretting their purchases enough to email customer support to say, hey, actually, I don't want this anymore. This is just anecdotal, obviously, but it's an observation that I've been able to make as an affiliate working with two very, very different pre-order models. Now, we're starting to see a lot of interest-free payment plan services like Affirm or what's the other one? Sezzle. I think Sezzle is the one. And it's really helpful for people who want it and want to commit to purchasing something, secure their order, especially if the thing is upfront and there's no real option. I personally don't like the pay in installments thing because it just seems like a lingering cough. every week or every 2 weeks I get my paycheck and I think, oh, good, look, I get an influx of income. And it's like, oh, hey, that thing you ordered 6 weeks ago? Well, we're taking another $60 for your payment plan. It's like, damn it. I thought I had $60 more than I actually have. So I'm not a big fan of the payment plans. I also think that it makes me want to buy things more than I actually value those things. Like I said before, like a zero down pre-order, like I'll do it reflexively and then I'll decide later. Whereas if I have to pay up front, then I'm a lot more thoughtful about my purchase. As you'll hear in my conversation with Brian Flynn next week, it does seem as though the hobbyists, the collectors in general, are trending towards waiting for things to come in stock more and more. You'll hear Brian talk about how the pre-order model, they might start moving away from that with Super 7. They might start making educated guesses as to how many figures they think they should make. And it makes me wonder, like, is this hobby as a whole moving away from pre-orders, not to the business's sort of, strategy or what they're trying to push. I think that toy companies in general are trying to get you to pre-order as much as possible, but it sure seems like customer behavior is moving toward no, I want to see it in hand. I want to see other people get it first, and then I'll make my purchasing decision, which I think is totally reasonable given the economy. Times are hard. So yeah, I'm very, very curious to see what's going on and how things move from here. And I'm curious to hear from you guys. Like, what are your purchasing habits when it comes to collecting figures, collecting toys, things like that? Like, are you waiting for things to come in stock now, or are you pre-ordering things, zero down pre-orders, and deciding after the fact? I'm really curious to hear from you. That's going to be it from me. I just felt like recording this video sort of off the cuff because I feel as though the death of the zero down pre-order has been a long time coming, and it seems to be arriving, at least in some capacity. I feel like Big Bad Toy Store having a zero down pre-order policy is a pretty big deal, and I think that it's a major indication of where this hobby and where this industry is heading. So thank you guys so much for watching and listening to me ramble. And I hope you have a great day. And I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching.